The video continues with Pudovkin Dossier mentioning and quoting from a 1983 paper published in the journal Space Science Reviews. 1983 contained 3 volumes and 12 issues of Space Science Review, i.e. one for each month. In 1983, 79 articles were published in the journal. Here, a link most definitely would have been helpful, and not particularly difficult to obtain given that the papers published in the journal appear to be available with a preview online for free, and for 1983 only one paper didn't provide a full text preview of the first page. The only other clues I had were that the author was from the Institute of Physics in Japan and a snippet of introduction. January, nothing. February, nothing. March, nothing. April, nothing. May, nothing. June, nothing. July, nothing. August, nothing. September, nothing. October, nothing. November, nothing. December, nothing. Not good. Now, I've mentioned one paper with no preview. This is by S.T. Wu and was not a discussion of core processes of the Sun, nor its luminosity, but of solar disturbances in the Sun, which, to the best of my knowledge, is part of helioseismology. So no luck with 1983 then. But perhaps it was received by the journal in 1983 and not published until 1984. Let's see. January, nothing. March, nothing. May, nothing. July, huzzah! We have a winner. Konnichiwa Sakurai of the Institute of Physics Kanagawa University, Yokohama, Japan, is the author of a paper titled The Sun as an Inconstant Star, which, unlike Pudovkin Dossier, I have the decency to link in the description. I used Springer Link to find the article, but as mentioned before, only the first page is provided. Fortunately, the article is also provided in full online via Harvard, so we can see what it says. Sakurai's paper is quite mathematically heavy, along with a lot of physics terms, but a statement in section 2.3, page 9, piqued my interest. The paper is really not dealing with any trend in temperature or luminosity, but with variations in the luminosity of the Sun, both upwards and downwards. Given that we know the age of the Earth to be in the region of 4.55 billion years by radiometric dating, and we can draw parallels between the age of the Earth and the age of the Sun, given that the planets were formed from a protoplanetary disk that surrounded the young Sun, this statement from Sakurai is stating that the Sun has over 5 billion years worth of hydrogen supplies left. The Sun itself, of course, is interesting. For one thing, early in the history of Earth, the Sun was about 70% as bright as it is now, and as it is now, is thought to be getting 10% brighter every billion years or so. Briefly mentioned is the solar neutrino problem, something that is now considered a solved problem. This was an apparent gap in the number of neutrinos observed coming from the Sun. This is considered solved due to it being theorized that neutrinos can flip between their 3 different lepton flavors: electron, muon and tau. This is a phenomenon known as neutrino oscillation, where a neutrino created with one flavour can be observed later with a different flavour. The issue was that the observations that were missing the neutrinos were using detectors that were only capable of detecting one flavour, electron neutrinos. In 2004, Arthur McDonald of Queen's University, Kingston, Canada, produced a paper which was published in the New Journal of Physics entitled Solar Neutrino Measurements, which reviewed the solar neutrino measurements carried out to date. Experiments to date have provided a clear determination that solar neutrinos are undergoing flavour transformation, and that the dominant mechanism for this transformation is oscillation. All in all, the number of solar neutrinos is not a problem anymore, as it has been dealt with theoretically, then substantiated experimentally. Again, Pudovkin Dossier is incorrect. The next study mentioned is a 1988 study from Harvard. Again, no title was given, but searching Nanoflares, Harvard, and 1988 brings me a paper by Eugene Parker entitled Nanoflares and the Solar X-ray Corona, which was published in the Astrophysical Journal in 1988. But the article is not from Harvard. The paper is merely available from the Harvard website. At the time, Dr. Parker was at the University of Chicago, and he never went to Harvard, so when Pudovkin Dossier gets the idea that the paper is from Harvard is puzzling. As for this, the claim they make that the study detected a swarm of nanoflares on the surface of our Sun, indicating an intense burn-off of high-energy fuel, is about a quarter correct. Parker did look for and detect nanoflares on the Sun, although it was not at the surface of the Sun, which is taken to be the photosphere. The nanoflares were, as suggested by the title of the paper, found in the corona, which is more like an atmosphere, although this parallel is not exactly perfect. But Parker does not, I feel, conclude that this as the result of any fuel burn-off, but of small isolated magnetic bipoles. 3. Implications opens with, if observations indicate that the X-ray corona is primarily a collection of nanoflares, then it would appear that the corona is created by a large number of small-scale magnetic reconnections. Further on in the section, although a little jargon heavily, the paper states that it appears then that the X-ray corona of the Sun, and hence X-ray coronas of similar solitary late-type main-sequence stars, are primarily a consequence of tangential discontinuities formed spontaneously in the surface magnetic fields by the shuffling of the footprints of the field in the photospheric convection. To put this simply, the nanoflares are a result of interactions between small magnetic fields on the surface of the Sun caused by convection currents within the Sun. The second sentence, however, is complete and utter malarkey of the highest order. This paper, after careful read-through, does not even contain the word helium. This is because Parker is discussing coronal effects and their source, not any core processes. He certainly does not conclude that these nanoflares are a result of the fusion of helium rather than the fusion of hydrogen. This statement is a complete lie, and Pudovkin Dossier must know it's a lie, because the screen cap part of the paper you can see the words "the heat source that caused the X-ray corona has" at the head of the paragraph. This paragraph is at page 1 of the paper, which concludes nowhere that the Sun has started to fuse helium. The video goes on to suggest that an obscure 19th century theory was resurrected as a cover. The issue with this is that the idea never really went away. Papers talking about warming related to carbon dioxide concentrations popping up in the 50s, for example, with a paper by Gilbert Plass written in 1955 discussing how a doubling of carbon dioxide would produce a temperature rise of 3.6 degrees Celsius, should no other factor change. The idea didn't go away between Arrhenius's 1896 paper and the 1970s. Arrhenius's idea was dismissed by most scientists at the time. When it was found in the 1930s that the temperature of the North Atlantic had increased over the past 50 years, G.S. Callendar suggested that the greenhouse warming proposed by Arrhenius was on its way. However, most scientists thought that this was part of a natural cycle and dismissed the idea of human influence on the climate. After the Second World War in the 1950s, new papers using improved techniques showed that carbon dioxide could indeed build up in the atmosphere and so drive up temperatures. In 1960, measurements showed that the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was indeed rising, driving home the point. An article in American Scientist suggests that if this resurrection happened, it happened in 1956 with the Plass paper. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, the climate and carbon dioxide's effect on it continued to be probed with better and more advanced techniques. There was inevitably disagreement with where the climate would be heading in the 70s at least, with a few papers suggesting cooling and some saying neither cooling nor warming. The majority of papers, however, were predicting a warmer future. It was by no means an obscure theory in the 70s, and in the 80s, when the papers Pudovkin Dossier uses were produced, it was beginning to be very well supported indeed. When the term global warming was first used in 1973, none of these papers Pudovkin Dossier uses existed. Perhaps some sort of time travel was invented. Anything is possible when you're a conspiracy theorist. Then an interjection of typical conspiracy, blah blah, release, blah blah, underground shelters, blah blah, government. But towards the end, another paper enters the fray. A screenshot of a paper entitled Magnetic Processes in a Collapsing Dense Core by Hennebelle and Fromang. Given the clarity of the title, it was easy to find. It was published in 2008 in the journal Astronomy and Astrophysics. Apparently, the research on this is blocked. This is a load of rubbish. I shall demonstrate. Blocked my left butt cheek. Again, this paper is concerned with stars at the opposite end of their life cycle. From the abstract, emphasis mine, to understand the star formation process, it is important to study the collapse of a pre-stellar dense core. Then a finish with the "I'm taking a big risk doing this" flourish. What a show. To be fair, most of this could have been dealt with using various papers that concluded that the Sun has had a limited impact on this recent warming, or maybe even a cooling effect, such as Uroskin et al. 2005. Erlykin, Sloan and Wolfendale 2009. Benestad and Schmidt 2009. Lockwood 2008. and Rind 2008. Lockwood and Fröhlich 2008. Aman et al. 2007. Lockwood and Fröhlich 2007. Scafetter and West 2006. A review by Foucault et al., which was published in the journal Nature in 2006, states, or one of the many other papers, by far the majority, predicting that our activities via carbon dioxide forcing has and will continue to warm our planet. Or perhaps just showing the video Climate Denial Crock of the Week Solar Schmola by Greenman3610. But where's the fun in that? I am well aware that I will not get a reaction, or if I do it won't be positive, from Pudovkin Dossier, and that the likelihood is that they won't even watch it. However, you watched it, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Mouse out.